Greetings, comic friends. It is Wednesday, so time for a TGIW. Thank God it is Wednesday. This was an expensive day. This was an expensive day. More so than we've had in a while. The amount of books is not completely unreasonable. A little bit more than I usually like. A total of 12 books, 11 from subscriptions and one off the shelf because I couldn't say no. But there's been something I've been thinking about for a little while, and I pulled the trigger on it today, and I'm still not sure what I think about it. But we'll get to that. All right, so for this week, we have Something is Killing the Children, number 24. So this is the gatefold that the thing opens up to reveal the mouth or whatever cover. I don't usually get these. Like I like the regular covers. I actually really like the feel, the texture of the regular covers, and I also like so they kind of all match each other, where this will kind of stand out a little bit because it doesn't match with the others. Unfortunately, the shop where I get this from, a lot of their Something is Killing the Children 24s came in damaged, and the only one that I could find out of all the regular covers and this cover that wasn't damaged was one of this cover. So I ended up with this. I had a slight crisis because I really want the regular cover, but it had a really nasty color-breaking spine tick on it, and I was just like, what is worse, not having the match or this really egregious spine tick? I went with not having the match. I don't know if it was the right choice or not, but it's the choice that I made. The Silver Coin, number 11. So, man, cannibalism must be big this year, because we had Eat the Rich. This is I just noticed this. This is Tynion is the author on this one, the writer. So I'm actually extra excited to read that. Super fun series, anthology. Reads really well as individual issues because they are standalone. I'm sure it would read great as an anthology collection as well. Nottingham, number 8. So this is, I think, the third issue since it's been back. It was on hiatus for a while after 5 issues. Still fantastic. This is, you have a really hard time finding the individual issues on this at this point, especially the first issue, because when it first came out, people read it and like, oh my goodness, this is incredible. But it wasn't until after people had read it and the orders had been placed and there were only so many of them out there and people were trying to scoop them up. So it is tough to get. I don't know about the availability of trade, but if it is out there or it's coming, I highly, highly, highly suggest it. It kind of really turns the tale of Robin Hood sort of on its head. Noctera, number 11. This continues to be fun. You can see we have Blacktop Bill, where they're now, circumstances have put them sort of on the same side, which is a lot of fun. I do like a good hero-villain team-up, sort of the enemy of my enemy is my friend sort of thing, especially when it comes to someone that's just so, kind of despicable as Blacktop Bill. It's like, what you're up against has to be real, real nasty to team up with someone like that. But if there's a good reason for it, then, yeah, it's good. Makes a good story. Homesick Pilots, number 15. I think this might be the last issue. I'm not entirely sure. I think I said last time I got this, I really liked it at the beginning because it seemed like it was going to be this horror story. Then it turned into something else, so I was kind of more meh on it. But that story started growing on me a little bit, and it leaned more a little bit back into the horror, and I've been enjoying it again. So I'm glad it kind of turned itself around. That doesn't always happen with books like that. What was the other one? Deep Beyond, right? Deep Beyond, when I got that, when I first started reading it, I really liked it. It had presented itself as one thing, but ended up being another, and I'd never really caught on to the thing it ended up being. But Homesick Pilots kind of came around for me, which was good. We Only Find Them When They're Dead, number 11. Yes, number 11. Again, great sci-fi story. I'm usually not big into sci-fi as much as I am into, like, you know, fantasy and horror and things like that. But this is a really, really good sci-fi story. So and Al Ewing is great. I loved his work on Immortal Hulk. Was fantastic. Speaking of Hulk, Maestro World War M. This reveal at the end of the previous issue was great. The monster, I love when Monstro shows up. So he's one of those things where he's kind of like Zemnu, I think, in that you don't see him for a long time, and you kind of forget about him. But when he shows up, you're like, yes, Monstro, yes. I get real excited about Monstro showing up. So this was a really cool reveal, and it looks like we're going to see a battle between the two, which is sure to be fun. Silver Surfer Rebirth number 5. This might be the last issue. It's hard to tell. It used to be limiteds were always like 6 issues, right? Right to the 6-issue arc. Sometimes now they're 5. I think I'm still pretty lukewarm on this Rebirth, Silver Surfer Rebirth. I probably could have done without it. Spider-Man number 4 continues to be great. Zeb Wells doing a great job. And every time I talk about my feelings of John Romita Jr., he's just kind of not for me. But as long as the story is good, I'm happy. Art is very important in the comic, obviously. But I can forgive. And I'm not saying that the art is bad. I know some people like his style. It's just not the style that really speaks to me. So it's not like I'm having to put up with bad art. But the story does help. The fact the story is good does help mitigate that a little bit. Moon Knight number 12 is still great. This is another one, actually, where at the beginning I liked it. Towards the middle, I got kind of like, I don't really understand what's going on here. But now I'm more on board with it, which makes me happy because Moon Knight is one of my faves. This is probably the book I'm most excited about reading this week, and that is New Fantastic Four. There's so much going for it. It's got Spider-Man. It's got Hulk. It's Peter David as the writer. And I love the concept of the New Fantastic Four. I think I mentioned last time when I played through Ultimate Alliance 3, my team in the end ended up being the New Fantastic Four, and it was incredible. So I'm curious to see why these 4 get brought back together. It's not just Spidey and Hulk. I love Ghost Rider. I'm warming up to Wolverine a little bit more than I have in the past. I typically am not a big Wolverine fan, but he's kind of like okay to me now. So I'm real excited for this. And then the last thing that I got, I pulled off the wall. And I'm not sure, I'm guessing this is a limited, maybe it's a one-shot. This Punisher War Journal Blitz. I picked this up just because I've been loving this iteration of the Punisher, working for Hydra, whatever it is. So I was excited to get more stories in there with this version of the character. It's not Jason Aaron, but I do like this version of the character. So I picked that up. Okay, so what else? It's been a long time since I've had the what else did I get on Wednesday. So there are a couple things. The first one it just ended up kind of happening with other things going on. And that is Submariner 50, graded at an 8.0. This is the first appearance of Namorita. This is actually an upgrade for me. I have a copy of this because when I put together my full run of Submariner, I have a copy of this, but it was always one that I wanted to upgrade because I think I got most of that run in a lot of a bunch of them, and some were good, some were a little more beat up, and the number 50 was a little more beat up than what I wanted it to be for it being a key issue. But this obviously is a great looking copy. It's an 8.0 from what, 1972. That's pretty darn good. So I ended up with this. Now this wasn't what I intended to get. I did get one other thing, which I can go into why that Submariner got added. So the other thing that I got today on my little trip to the comic store was this. A Daredevil 1, graded at a 4.0. Now, this... So, when I asked to take a look at this, my first impression was, this is a really, really good-looking 4.0. And it is a very, very good-looking 4.0. I did look up the grader notes, and I see what they're talking about mostly. So I can see why it's a 4.0, but it's still a really, really good-looking 4.0, and that counts a lot for me, right? So I've mentioned before that... Oh, hey, pup. Let's put this away for a minute. That a grade is important to me as an indicator of what is inside. But what I'm paying for is the book that's inside the case. I'm not paying for the case. I'm not paying for this number. It's an indicator of how the inside is going to present for a number of different reasons. You know, color, creases, all that stuff. Presentation counts a lot for me. For example, I saw a graded Amazing Fantasy 15 that was 0.5 higher than the one I have. I am happier with the one that I have than having that 2.5, because I think my 2.0 to me presents better than that 2.5. The 2.5 that I saw, like it had a fairly big chunk torn out of the corner. Mine doesn't have any pieces missing. And I think that makes it just look better without a chunk taken out of it. So I would rather have my 2.0 than that 2.5. But that's just me, right? That's just me. No judgment if you're all about that grade, if you're getting it for investment, so that grade is more important. I get it. But for me personally, presentation counts for a lot. It's not just about the number. In this case, as a 4.0, this presents very, very well. If I saw this book in a 5.0 case, I would not be surprised. I would say, you know what, that makes sense. If I saw this in a 6.0, graded as a 6.0, I'd say, wow, someone got lucky, but I wouldn't be like, wow, they really, really messed up that one. It's a really, really, really well presenting 4.0. The biggest problems with it, and unfortunately, looking at the notes, all of the defects are unpressable. There is you probably can't even see it. There's a color breaking crease like right through him there, right through Albert there. This upper corner. Yeah, you can kind of see how that is definitely faded and rounded a little bit. There's some stains and some minor tears and whatnot. It could be cleaned up, but with the other issues, I don't think it would necessarily increase the grade. Now, if I did that and resubmitted it, would I be surprised if I got a higher grade? No. I wouldn't be surprised if I opened this, resubmitted it, did nothing with it, and resubmitted it, that it may come back a 4, 5, or a 5. I think that's completely in the realm of possibility. It's such a great looking book. It's off-white to white pages. It's not even off-white pages. It's off-white to white pages. That's pretty good. So the reason that this came into it, so I got a what I think is a really good deal on this in the end. So I was talking with the seller of this, and it was through one of my comic shops, the owner of one of my comic shops, and we were talking about it, and we kind of were like, okay, what's kind of your bottom line best offer sort of thing, and we weren't far off from each other, right? There's those times when it's like, yeah, I'm right here, you're right here, it's so close, but I don't think I can quite bite that bullet of getting to where you are. So it's sort of a, can we split the difference sort of thing, right? When I'm in those situations, what I like to do, if possible, is instead of like, I'm here, you're here, just meet me here, is, well, you have something else that I want, right? Give me an incredible deal on this other thing. Not like giving it to me for free or whatever, but give me like a really, really good deal on this other thing to sort of help bridge that discrepancy. So that's what I did with. I knew they had this. They had this for a while. I know that I've wanted it for a while. I think that the price that they had this for was a little bit high, so I never really approached them about it, and I would have been okay finding maybe a little bit lower raw copy of it. So I didn't really go after this, but it came to mind when it's like, okay, what else is there that maybe I could use to kind of bridge that gap. And I think in the end it worked out really, really well. With both of these combined, I got to near where where I'm like, this is exactly where I wanted to be. Whereas without this, maybe would have met halfway, but essentially what I think about is this is, I think it makes it easier for the seller because you can think of it as they're meeting me part way, but that money that they're conceding, I'm giving right back to them to pay for something else, right? Them giving a seller giving me money, where that money is immediately going to be given back to them, is the best kind of money they can give, right? That's why usually, if you sell something someplace, they give you more in trade than they would in cash, because trade is just guaranteed cash back to them. That's also what this is, of saying, instead of meeting me part way and the seller giving up some cash, or some potential cash, it's I'm putting more into you. So I find when I do that, again, where possible, I don't just look for things to add to it just because. It has to be something that I'm actually interested in and it works out. I feel that sellers are a lot more amiable to that sort of thing, and you can probably end up a little bit better than what you would of just splitting the difference, right? It's that difference between getting cash or getting credit. You end up, if you're putting it back to the seller, you're going to end up better off value-wise with credit, or in this case with negotiating with adding on a book. So maybe something to think about. Maybe that helps with some of your buying. You go in with, I only want to spend this much, but have some flexibility to spend more. Not one, because they might not meet your price, but two, you might have to add on something else to kind of get it to where you want. So in the end, with the pair of these books, I think we only ended up being like 2% apart from each other, which is pretty good. It's pretty good. Whereas without it, it was a much larger discrepancy. So yeah, that's it. Real exciting. This has been a gap in my collection for a while. I've needed a Daredevil 1. It's one that I could have probably gotten multiple times. It's not a rare book. Out of your Silver Age first appearances, it's definitely not the most expensive. It's always been, I think, one of the more affordable, what I call Marvel Silver Age heavy hitters. But I'd never gone after it because I've been putting towards like larger things. But this one came available. It came up 4.0. Again, would I like to see a bigger number on there? Yes. But man, for a 4.0, this thing looks pretty incredible. So, and that counts a lot for me personally. So that is it. Let me know what you think about stuff this week. Let me know what you think about my extras and kind of my thoughts and strategy on how I approached that purchase. Curious to see if you have any strategies that you employ when trying to make a deal or negotiate with a seller. I'd be curious to know. So do that. Like, subscribe, all of that, and yeah, of course, don't forget to make yours Titan. This video was brought to you by Titan Comic Pressing. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Titan Comic Pressing LLC.